Hello, students. I want to give you some ideas about the short story, The Things They Carried, just to help you out with your questions, preparing for your literary analysis. And then also, we're going to be having a discussion tomorrow. So, just want to give you some ideas to think about in order to give you some time to prepare for that. So, first of all, in The Things They Carried, they literally talk about the physical items that they have to carry. So down at the bottom of page 1 is a good section that begins. Among the other necessities or near necessities were P38 can openers, pocket knives, heat tabs, wristwatches, dog tags, mosquito repellent, chewing gum, candy, cigarettes, salt tablets, packets of Kool-Aid, lighters, matches, sewing kits, military payment certificates, sea rations, and 2 or 3 canteens of water. Then Tim O'Brien gets into this idea about the emotional weight that they are carrying. So the first item I want to bring up is this concept of fear of death and joking around about the aspect of death. So now at the bottom of page 6, the very bottom of it, he talks about that fear of death. A few moments later, Lee Strunk crawled out of the tunnel. He came up grinning, filthy but alive. Lieutenant Cross nodded and closed his eyes while the others clapped Strunk on the back and made jokes about rising from the dead. Worms rat, Kylie said, right out of the grave. Fucking zombie. The men laughed, and they all felt great relief. Spook City, said Mitchell Sanders. Lee Strunk made a funny ghost sound, a kind of moaning yet very happy, and right then, when Strunk made that high, happy moaning sound, when he went, "Ow!" Right then, Ted Lavender was shot in the head on his way back from peeing. He lay with his mouth open. The teeth were broken. There was a swollen black bruise under his left eye. The cheekbone was gone. Oh shit, Rat Kiley said. The guy's dead. The guy's dead, he kept saying, which seemed profound. The guy's dead. I mean, really. So the men go on and they continue to make jokes throughout the story about death. So another one occurs on page 9. The men say zapped while zipping in terms of Ted Lavender's death. So again, that is repeated throughout the story. Now, the other thing that the men carry in terms of their emotional weight is this idea that they want to escape from reality. So going back to page 2 at this point in time, they talk about this. While he was shot, Ted Lavender carried 6 or 7 ounces of premium dope, which for him was a necessity. So the men oftentimes turn to self-medicating from the use of marijuana. And that continues on page 4 as well, at the very top. Then they wrapped Lavender in his poncho. They carried him out to a dry paddy, established security, and sat smoking the dead man's dope until the chopper came. The other thing that they use to escape is their own personal imagination. And specifically, Jimmy Cross does this with his imagination of Martha. And this is on page 6 towards the bottom as well. Lieutenant Cross gazed at the tunnel, but he was not there. He was buried with Martha under the white sand at the Jersey shore. They were pressed together, and the pebble in his mouth was her tongue. He was smiling. So the other thing I want to bring up is that Jimmy Cross at the end of the story decides to make a resolution and figure out what can he control. Now we're going to go to the end of the story to page 13 and 14 for the final part of this. So at the bottom of page 13. Henceforth, he thought about Martha. When he thought about Martha, it was only to think that she belonged elsewhere. He would shut down the daydreams. This was not Mount Sebastian. It was another world where there was no pretty poems or midterm exams, a place where men died because of carelessness and gross stupidity. Kiowa was right. Boom, down, and you were dead, never partly dead. And on page 14, instead, he went back to his maps. He was now determined to perform his duties firmly and without negligence. It wouldn't help Lavender, he knew that, but from this point on, he would comport himself as an officer. He would dispose of his good luck pebble, swallow it, maybe, or use Lee Strunk's slingshot, or just drop it along a trail.